avid listeners. Thanks again for tuning in to Sin's Workshop. Hope we're all having a wonderful day. Alright, today we're going to be talking about Fire by Kristin Cashore. It's the second novel in the Graceling series, and I have to say I was kind of thrown through a loop. So the story starts with Lek, who we know from the first book, bad guy, right? Okay, so it starts off with Lek. Here is where I was confused. After the prologue about Lek's origins, don't get me wrong, I did like that part. But now we're talking about Fire, and she's a monster. It's a different part of the world that was established in the first novel. And I was just thrown through a loop because I was just expecting more of Katsa's journey. And here we are reading about Fire. Okay, which is fine. But the whole prologue was about King Lek before he became King Lek. I was just confused. I felt like that introduction with Lek was a bit distracting for the novel because I kept expecting him to be in the story, and he wasn't, at least not until the very end, which again, distracting. So ultimately I feel like this novel it just left me wanting more. I didn't really see it as a sequel. It feels more like its own standalone novel, a companion novel, but not one that has to be in the series. I feel like you can skip it if you want. It's not, again, 100% necessary. That is my opinion only. But overall, I did think it was a decent story. I think Fire is an interesting character. I did like her. I thought her journey and her progression was interesting as well. My main thing is, ultimately, I have to say I was just really confused a lot of the time because I really didn't understand the point of the story, to be honest with you. I really didn't. And that's the part that really bothers me. It feels like its own entity. That's what I'm trying to say. It feels like its own entity. And while Fire was an interesting character, I just wanted more of Katsa, to be honest with you. I wanted more of Katsa's journey. I wanted more of her evolution. I wanted to see more of Katsa, pretty much. So, reading about Fire, you have to understand there's a lot of world building that goes into this novel because, again, while it is within the same realm as the first novel, it takes place across the mountains, so it's in this completely new and different place. So there's a lot of world building that is going on here. It's like I said, it's like the author decided to restart her series. That's what it feels like. I just didn't understand it. It just didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, unfortunately. Now, I wanted to like it more than I actually did. I just think Lek's perspective, starting the story with Lek was the wrong decision. Because again, I was just distracted. From beginning to end, I was distracted. I'm like, okay, where's Lek? I thought this was going to be a story about Lek. You know, don't get me wrong, I did read the synopsis of the book, so I knew it was going to be about this girl, Fire, who also has similar powers to Lek. She has her own kind of mind reading, mind control power. So I thought that was interesting. And like Katsa, she's a formidable warrior. She fights with a bow, an arrow, and the romance in this novel was more developed. I'll say this. The romance in this novel had a stronger foundation than in Graceling with Katsa and Poe. Here, you really do get to see the turmoil that goes on with Fire. She doesn't want to have kids because she is a monster. That's what she calls herself. You know, her father was a monster. She is a monster. That's kind of what her species is defined as. Even though she's a beautiful girl, she has this hair that looks like that looks like sunset, and it's shimmery. So she's magical in a way. Again, with the mind control, mind power. But she is a good person inherently. But she understands that monsters need to come to an end. So she does make herself infertile. She cannot have kids of her own, and she doesn't want to. So there's a lot of tension with her and the romantic lead. Initially, they don't really get along, but you do get to see them go on this journey throughout the story. They go from people who have to work together to becoming friends, to coming to an understanding, to becoming romantic interests. I liked that. And I like how I like how Fire has really strong dynamics with the rest of the cast of characters. And then when she finally meets Lek, more than halfway through the book, I think he's there in the last quarter of the book, and as quickly as he's introduced, he's just gone again. And again, I hated that. I just can't get over that one little tidbit. I just was really annoyed. That's probably why I wasn't able to understand this. Understand. It's probably why I wasn't able to really understand and like this novel as much as I wanted to, because why? Why have Lek here at all? Granted, I have read Bitter Blue already, so I understand this is really just a tie-in novel between the two, but it was an unnecessary tie-in novel. It really was. I don't think it was worthwhile. I don't think we needed to read it. We can skip it. Honestly, I felt like I can skip it. Now, I think Cashore does a really good job with world building. Let me say that. But again, this just feels like a whole new, completely different novel. It takes place in the realm of Graceling. It is a Graceling novel, but it feels like it's its own thing because she has to redo her world building, because it's a new world in this place across the mountains. It's an entirely different place, and I just wish it hadn't gone that direction. Or I wish maybe this has been in book 1, you know, maybe I would have liked it if it were book 1, or maybe I would have liked it a little bit more had I gone into the story knowing, oh yeah, it's definitely just going to be a companion novel. But when you start off the novel with a prologue, focus distinctly on the antagonist of the first novel, you really do think it's going to follow his narrative, but it was really just distracting. It really was just distracting, and I couldn't get over it. I'm sorry. I couldn't get over it. That's how I feel. You may feel differently, though. To each his own. To each his own. I do encourage everyone to read everything I review because my opinion is my own. Your opinion is different. I like to view books as art, and they are always open to interpretation. So once again, this was Fire by Kristin Cashore, the second novel in the Graceling series. I'm going to have to give it 3 stars. It wasn't a bad novel. I did ultimately enjoy reading it, but I do think it is its own entirely different novel. It doesn't feel like a sequel. It doesn't feel like it's part of the Graceling realm. It feels like its own entity, and that's what bothered me. And Lex's perspective in the beginning was just a distraction while I was reading the entirety of the novel. So once again, Fire gets 3 stars. I recommend purchasing the book from your local bookseller. Please try to avoid purchasing off of Amazon if possible. If money's tight, please check out the book from your local library. Libraries deserve all the support that they can get. And I hope you all will continue to support me by liking this podcast, sharing it with all your book-loving friends, and becoming a supporter on Anchor. You can find all the information on that in the description. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading!